and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at. State lawmakers return to Springfield to vote on the $53 billion budget plan, what it could mean for you. Renewed efforts to establish a statewide public defender system.
And by fun, we mean lawns and trees blanketed with cicadas screaming at the tops of their lungs.
And the cicada invasion is here. What you should know about our new neighbors. And now to some of today's top stories. Chicago Public Schools is releasing new school budgets today, showing tighter resources for some. It comes as the district faces a nearly $400 million budget deficit. CPS published individual school-level budgets today amid concerns over how the district's budgeting process could affect its selective enrollment schools.
We will maintain, though, the overall level of funding for our schools, but some school budgets will get tighter next year. We work closely with our principals to make sure they're able to maintain the current programming next year and that they have the resources they need to provide a high-quality education for their students.
In March, the Board of Education announced plans for a new funding model. Instead of basing funding on student enrollment, the district will now guarantee a certain level of resources to all schools. CPS will then allocate additional resources based on an assessment of need. For more on this story, please visit our website. Travelers at O'Hare Airport will eventually notice a new concourse, but first, more construction. Today, the city unveiled the design for the new Satellite Concourse 1, which continues several years of upgrades and additions to one of the busiest airports in the country.
We've renovated the pedestrian tunnels connecting our terminals to the CTA Blue Line and O'Hare's main parking garage. Just this month, we topped off our new 6-story parking facility at Terminal 5, which will open in October. And last month, our diverse term of construction contractors began site work on the project that we are celebrating today, Concourse 1, Satellite 1.
The new Satellite Concourse 1 will be the first new concourse in more than 30 years at O'Hare and adds 19 new gates. Officials say the concourse will be able to accommodate different sizes of planes, making airlines more efficient and reducing layover transfers for passengers. The concourse is expected to be completed in 2028. Chicago Animal Care and Control has euthanized 16% more animals between January and April of this year compared to the same time last year. City data shows the shelter is on pace to surpass last year's record high euthanasia count and stray animal intake as more pet owners are surrendering their animals. Animal welfare workers acknowledge barriers that have made it more difficult for people to adopt, foster, or keep their own animals, such as inflation, pushing the cost of pet care higher, and housing policies that restrict breeds or types of pets. The shelter says it's expecting a busy summer ahead and is urging residents to consider adopting or fostering a pet. There's more of this story on our website. Up next, advocates call for a better system for public defenders across Illinois. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Illinois is one of 7 states without an independent statewide public defender system. The FAIR Act, an acronym for Funded Advocacy and Independent Representation, would change that. The bill was filed earlier this month, and it's the latest push to fix the state's long-standing challenges in equitable legal representation. Joining us now with more are Stephanie Coleman, the policy director at Northwestern University's Children and Family Justice Center, and Cook County Public Defender Sharon Mitchell Jr. Thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Stephanie Coleman, starting with you, tell us about the FAIR Act. What would it do and why do you think it's necessary?
Well, as you said, Illinois really stands apart from most other states in its provision of a statewide body to really see whether we are adequately defending people's rights across the state. And what a couple of reviews that had commenced in 2018 have told us is that no, we are not. In addition to the lack of structure that we have at the state level, what that is doing is allowing a lot of gaps in advocacy to proliferate around the state, and people's rights really in many quarters of the state are not being defended in the way that they need to be due to lack of resources. But there's also a structural issue, and the FAIR Act would change that so that we can have more conversations about where those resources are needed.
Okay, and I want to come back to sort of like what the act would change and how that would work. Sharon Mitchell, coming to you, though, we often hear about the workload for public defender offices. What are some of the biggest challenges for your office?
Well, we are lucky in the sense that we have a county board and a county board president that has supported public defense in the county, but that may not be the same situation for others across the state. So when we're talking about resources, we're talking about resources for public defenders. That keeps caseloads down, and the FAIR Act will give us the opportunity to really advocate for the funding that's desperately needed all across the state.
Stephanie, tell us a little bit more about the act and what it does, what it sets up.
Sure. Well, it creates the structure. As I said, there isn't a structure at the state level to really supervise how defense is being provided around the state. And this State Office of Public Defense would have the ability to help, as Defender Mitchell said, set caseloads that are recommended for defenders, make sure that there's additional staffing resources and financial resources that can be distributed to the places that need it. Currently in Illinois, about 60% of the counties don't have an office of public defender that is county run and county funded in that sense. And so those are run on individual contracts. People are having to pay out of their own pocket in some cases for investigation and other, administrative support that is really required to defend rights.
And that means, if counties are contracting, say, with like private attorneys who are working in the area, Sharon, what does that mean then, for the kind of defense that some folks might be getting, and not that, a public defender or a private attorney is necessarily, different or worse, but some folks are getting, public defenders who maybe aren't getting paid very much because the county is contracting, or how does that set up a sort of an uneven defending system? Yeah,
no constitutional right should have a price tag, and unfortunately we live in a community where sometimes that happens. Whether we're talking about having an attorney that is there when you first get arrested, or having an attorney that has access to either investigator services or support services, we know that the situation is really varied across the state. Right now, public defender services are really delivered at the county level, and because there are 102 different counties in the state, there are 102 different approaches for public defense. So this will give offices like the Cook County Public Defender's offices more access to resources, but it could give other counties more, support in terms of actual attorneys. It could create caseload limits. It could create training standards. There is a real opportunity here. The fact that Illinois is only one of a handful of states that don't have a statewide office really shows in kind of the level of support that defender offices get. We're lucky in Cook County that we have a board that has supported the public defender's office, but again, that is not a guarantee across the state. So this is a really necessary step, and we're in a really exciting time in the sense that we have a Speaker of the House, a President of the Senate, and a Supreme Court Justice, lead justice, who has decided that this is something that needs to happen. So it's time to take advantage of that.
Stephanie, why don't some counties have public defenders?
Well, in the Illinois statute, it says, which, by the way, was set up in the 40s, before the modern right to counsel was really created in Gideon versus Wainwright, which was in 1968. There was a decision in the county code that populations under 35,000 in counties have the option of whether to set up a public defender office or not. And currently, both in counties that do have public defender offices and those that don't, it is in every county outside of Cook County the Chief Justice of the county who appoints that public defender and then can remove them and does not have to do so for cause. They can be that office can be vacated at any time, which really gives an improper level of judicial supervision to county defenders.
And so the way a public defender gets into that office for the counties that do have them versus the way a state's attorney gets into that office is very different. State's attorneys are elected. In the case of Cook County, you are appointed by the county to that position for public defender. I mean, I think the law would change the way those roles are assumed, not state's attorney, obviously, but for public defender. But I guess my question, Sharon, is should there be more parity between the state attorney's offices and the public defender's offices?
Yeah, we know that in all counties, there's a significant more funding for prosecutors' offices versus public defenders' offices. We know sometimes it's double, sometimes it's triple, sometimes it's quadruple. And having a statewide office would allow for us to really see where resources are needed. Right now, the vast majority of funding comes from the counties. And there needs to be more state support. It's a state responsibility. And again, we are super lucky that we have a Chief Justice Tice, we have a Speaker Welch, and we have President Harmon that have decided that there's something that needs to be done. And we believe that the FAIR Act gives us a great platform to start to have those conversations about what is needed for folks to have their constitutional rights represented.
Stephanie, what would something like this cost and the likelihood that there is also the political will to fund that cost?
Well, the news is that it will cost either way. Since Illinois isn't meeting people's Sixth Amendment rights currently, it really leaves the state open to a lot of liability. And so the question is whether the state wants to get out in front of that, which I sincerely hope that it does. Right up front, there isn't a great deal of cost for the office because we know that there is a need around the state, but we also know that the structure and where to address those holes is really something that needs to be done through a thoughtful planning process in collaboration with public defense. That could take some time. Now, our office did do a study of where the gaps are in staffing around the state and found out that Illinois is short about 900 defense attorneys around the state, and even more than that in terms of investigators and support staff, et cetera. So in the end, for Illinois to really bring its system up to where it needs to be, it could be quite costly. But the cost of prison and other consequences really is as well.
It's paid for in other ways. Yes, yes. Okay, something that we'll be following, not this session, of course, but as you said, hopefully for veto session. That's where we'll have to leave it. Stephanie Coleman and Cook County Public Defender Sharon Mitchell, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, how the state's next budget could hit your pocket. Stay with us. We are in the final days of the spring legislative session. Unable to meet their self-imposed adjournment deadline, House lawmakers returned to Springfield today to vote on the $53 billion state budget that the Senate passed on Sunday. Besides debating the budget, lawmakers passed hundreds of bills during this session. Here with all that and more is our Spotlight Politics team, Amanda Vinicky, and special guest sitting in with the band today is Alex Nitkin, government finance and accountability reporter with the Illinois Answers Project of the Better Government Association. Welcome, Alex. Good to see you both.
Thank you so much.
So before we get to Springfield, we had some national news today that the Democrats are going to nominate Biden virtually ahead of the convention in order to meet Ohio's August 7th ballot deadline. Stay with me, folks. At issue here is, in the past, Ohio legislators were able to temporarily solve this ballot issue, but Ohio Republicans seem unwilling to do it this year. So Democrats are moving forward with a virtual nomination. Alex, Amanda, does this take some of the excitement out of August's Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Alex?
I am sure that they will find some way to make it exciting, even if it is just some kind of showy display of, it's all sort of like pomp and ceremony anyway, of like Maine with its however many delegates,
That we already know that they've got.
Right.
Yes.
What's really interesting about this, though, is that as you were describing it, Republicans in the Ohio state legislature were the ones who were sort of orchestrating this, trying to keep President Biden off the ballot, but the Republican governor, Mike DeWine, was saying, no, we have to reverse this and actually step back. So, yeah, it's a strange situation, but I guess it's being
This is a very Illinois sort of game to play, by the way. I mean, if Illinois were in Ohio, that would not be very surprising. Exactly. But I
Tonight,
do think
the role of Illinois will be played by Ohio.
Right? I like that. But having covered conventions, I will say, I mean, that's sort of what everything builds up to. That's the culmination, the fun. So as Alex noted, yes, they're going to find something else to fill the time, but the official part that everybody's here for will have been over and done with. This is something that I think was done virtually by Democrats pretty well and interestingly, actually, and so folks might enjoy it better, perhaps, this digital thing where you can get folks' voices and it's really curated as opposed to people on the convention floor. The balloons will still come down.
The entire convention was over Zoom and online in 2020, right? So this is just a faint echo of that.
Yes, yeah. So, okay, so taking the conversation down to Springfield, lawmakers are nearing the finish line. State senators were hard at work over the weekend. Amanda, what did they get accomplished? So
they passed the budget. As you had noted earlier, they had thought that they were supposed to be done on Friday. Instead, talks, negotiations. Just because Democrats are in charge doesn't mean that they don't have their differences. This is still a budget. Democrats are going it alone without any GOP votes. But it just took them more time. So you had the Senate, and over the weekend, as you noted, they did pass the budget and sort of all accompanying bills. They're home. The House really just getting started now. So now it's their turn.
Okay. Alex, what would you say are some of the main takeaways for you and obviously for our taxpaying viewers at home in this $53 billion budget?
Well, I think the big revenue item at the centerpiece and that there was the most drama around was Governor Pritzker's proposal to raise taxes on sports betting. That was a big sticking point. The sports betting, just sort of sports books, had lobbying out in full force trying to stop it. And it really was the centerpiece of a lot of the initiatives and spending and programs that Democrats and the governor in particular wanted to pass. So that is through. There are a lot of other big ticket items that were on the top of the governor's agenda as part of his address this year, most notably the Healthcare Protection Act, I think it was called, effectuating a bunch of health insurance reforms, banning prior authorizations for mental health, and capping the price of inhalers at $25, more funding for maternal health, requiring that insurers cover things like doulas and home births and midwives. And so those are just two that stand out, but a whole lot got done, at least by the Senate, and now it's the House's turn.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the budget, what I think is the big takeaway for me is that you're not seeing a lot that's going to directly or most obviously hit voters in their pocketbooks. But the big criticism by Republicans is that it will in sort of roundabout ways, that you're going to have, for example, folks who do take part in sports betting will not be able to get as much on their wins, that the odds are going to be off. When you look at things such as this retailer's fee, that's kind of complicated, that really the plan is affecting things like Walmart. Who cares? Are you going to know that? But you might when it gets baked into the price of your final goods. So that's one of the rubs that Republicans have. I think that that's very intentional. This is a budget that does an increase in spending. You're not seeing big cuts to programs. As you might otherwise have without this increase. It's really like $1 billion more of additional revenue. And it's you had one of the senators during the debate say, "Oh, that's pretty. Let's call it revenue enhancement." So pretty.
That's a good word.
Revenue enhancements, aka means like somebody is paying more, so
somebody's
the state
paying
can spend
for it.
more.
Well, let's get to that, Alex. There were some revenue-raising tax increases. Who got hit the hardest?
Well, I mean, it was sports books. One thing that was really interesting, I thought, was actually a tax that got taken away as part of this, which was the 1% tax on groceries that the state had been imposing, but municipalities were collecting it. Municipalities obviously didn't like that it's getting taken away, but it was, I think, kind of a political winner for the governor without really the state losing anything, just to say, to all of the towns, to all the municipalities, if you want that money so badly, you need to tax those groceries. And so that's one way that shoppers and consumers out there might be feeling that in a good way in their pocketbooks, but it depends on what those towns and counties and cities out there do.
Amanda, briefly, what were some of the main criticisms of this budget?
So as I noted, the big criticisms, I think, are just that it continues to spend at increased levels. But what the main takeaways are that Republicans said this seems to be a budget that puts Pritzker on the path to the presidency, that they believe that this is curated and built around that. Their other main criticism is that they say it spends too much, and basically $1 billion all told, on non-citizens. So when you're talking migrants or others who may not be in the country legally, instead of Illinois residents, those were the criticisms that you heard over and over from the GOP.
And I feel like we have to talk about this. The legislature also chose not to take any action on the Bears stadium funding request. Alex, do you think they'll be taking this up in the fall?
In the fall, I guess I wouldn't bet on it. Potentially
Which
in
will
the
cost
spring.
you extra, by the way. In the
Exactly.
So,
I was like, speaking of betting.
I mean, the whole story of this was that the Bears president, Kevin Warren, and interestingly, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, came out in favor of this proposal that would have basically asked the state to borrow a whole bunch of money for the Bears, backed by some taxes. Mayor was all for it. The governor very clearly from the very beginning said, this is absolutely dead on arrival. We're not going for it. It was never really taken seriously.
Very quickly, how soon can we have a budget out of the House?
So it's going to be after midnight tonight. That will be the earliest that they could do it, so expect it into the wee hours.
Okay, everybody. Thank you. That's Spotlight. Alex Nick, and thank you for joining us. Amanda Vinicky, I see you here all the time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yay for me.
Up next, the cicadas are here. We'll tell you why. Cicada Watch 2024 is reaching fever pitch in the Chicago region, where millions of insects are bursting from the ground. So why so many cicadas in Illinois this year? In case you haven't seen this yet, here's Patty Wetley with the answer in our WTTW News Explains series.
It's time to stock up on earplugs, folks, because things are about to get loud. In case you hadn't heard, the cicadas are coming. We said the cicadas are coming! Now, maybe you're wondering, what's the big deal? We get cicadas every year. It's true that annual cicadas, also known as dog days cicadas, turn up every July or August just to remind us that summer's almost over. But there's another kind of cicada called periodical cicadas. They're more like reclusive rock stars. They disappear underground for years, living off of tree roots, and then emerge topside to loads of media hype. They even have the bloodshot eyes to complete the look. These periodical cicadas are grouped into 15 different broods scattered across the eastern U.S. Each brood has a different alarm clock of sorts set on either a 13-year or 17-year cycle. When the alarm goes off, the entire brood busts out of hiding so they can hurry up and mate and die. So what's the buzz in 2024? This spring, 2 different broods in Illinois are getting their wake-up call at the same time. A 13-year brood in southern Illinois and a 17-year brood in northern Illinois will make their first joint appearance in more than 200 years. The last time this happened, Illinois wasn't even a state. Before you picture skies darkened with trillions of insects, don't worry. The broods don't really overlap geographically, and places where the ground has been disturbed a lot over the years, like Chicago, will miss out on most of the fun. And by fun, we mean lawns and trees blanketed with cicadas screaming at the tops of their lungs. Actually, all that noise comes from male cicadas doing a serious core workout. They have a special body part that they vibrate by contracting tiny muscles hundreds of times a second. Then they use their abdomen like an amp, cranking up the sound to lawnmower levels on the decibel chart. Believe it or not, this ear-splitting racket is the fella's mating song, and lady cicadas dig it. One thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, a new generation of baby cicadas hatches, burrows underground, and the whole cycle starts all over again. See you in 2041.
2041, so mark your calendar. And the suburbs are seeing and hearing a pretty healthy cicada emergence. Here are some from a north suburban backyard. No, it's not mine. But Chicagoans are at the opposite end of the spectrum, and some have developed a serious case of FOMO, fear of missing out. Sorry, Chicagoans. To read more about why the cicadas are fewer and further apart within the city limits, check out our website, WTTW.com/news. And that is our show for this Tuesday night. Don't forget to stay connected with us by signing up for our daily briefing. And you can get Chicago Tonight streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, WTTW.com/news. You can also get the show via podcast and the PBS video app. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10 for Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Residents in North Lawndale are pushing back on a plan they say would bring more diesel trucks down their streets. And a landmark study aims to better understand cancer risk factors and outcomes for Black women. And as we mentioned earlier, if you're one of those Chicagoans missing out on the cicada fun right now, you can catch some larger-than-life cicada sculptures invading Ravenswood Manor Park. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, which is proud to honor founder and senior partner Robert Clifford, who has been named in Forbes' 2024 list of America's top 200 lawyers.